Welcome, everybody. I'm Tab Padromo, and this is Social Selling Television. You can watch this replay and past episodes at socialsellingtelevision.com. And I'm so blessed to have so many really good friends that I have met over the years since I've entered this marketing world. And today's guest, Gary Barnes, I met, 5 or 7 years ago now.
Yeah, probably at least 7.
Yeah, seems like yesterday, but we have kept in touch. I mean, there was 100 people in that mastermind, and there's like 3 people I still keep in touch with, and Gary's one of them. So, Gary, welcome.
Well, thank you so much. I always enjoy being here with you, and you've got such a great community, and I appreciate you as a friend.
Thank you. And a couple of years ago, I spoke at your event in Denver, and you talked about the power of the get statements.
Yep.
Can you talk about that?
Absolutely. Get statements were something that originally I was introduced to affirmation years and years ago with Jim Rohn and, all of the fathers of the motivational, inspirational world. And I remember Tony Robbins, when I went through his program, was talking about affirmations that they're really lies that we tell ourselves. And I went, what? And he used the illustration that there are no weeds in my garden, and you look out the window and they're 6 feet tall. And I started thinking about it when we tell ourselves, I'm wealthy, I weigh a certain amount or whatever, and you look in the mirror, you look in your bank account, and you go, I don't see it. And so literally we start having this argument with ourselves, whether or not it's on a conscious level, it's on a subconscious level. And so we get stuck because we don't really believe what is we're engaging in if we're really going to accomplish it. And when we do, the other side is that there can be a feeling like we just got lucky, that it was nothing that was programmed, that was nothing on purpose. And so Tony had a program called MUST statements, M-U-S-T.
Mm-hmm.
And you know me. If you tell me I must do something, do you think I'm going to do it?
Right. No.
I know you too. I mean, our personalities are, we're just going to walk away or do the opposite. And it's not that I'm proud of that. I just know that's how I am. And so I looked at the word must, and I really liked the idea of creating a statement, future tense, of a real element in my life that was real, but I brought that back to the present tense, to the day. And so I was thinking about, okay, what could I use? And the word get showed up. The word must literally dropped out, the word get. So let me ask you, Ted, when I said you must open your present today, right now, or you get to open your present, which one are you more likely to do faster?
I'll get it right now.
Yeah, you'll get it. And so we changed the emotional aspects of really designing that future that we're wanting to be drawn to instead of having to just force ourselves to. And then I'm the kind of guy that likes acronyms, and I went, well, what could the word GET mean? And all of a sudden I realized it meant great expectations today. And so it really is an evolving process, but you can create these GET statements, and what we're literally doing is reprogramming the reticular cells in our brains.
Mm-hmm.
And the neat thing is you don't even have to believe in this for it to work.
Right.
Because we're programming the subconscious. And the subconscious is the part that's going to see opportunities that most people will walk by, or we will even walk by, and not even, connect that there's a possibility or a service, a product that's relevant there. But when we plant those seeds, it's like, Ted, you just got back from a really neat trip.
Yep.
And I'm guessing that, how long have you been back now?
I don't know, a week and a half?
Week and a half. So have you been noticing architecture that was similar to what you saw on your trip?
Oh, God, yeah.
All of a sudden, it had relevance. It had some sort of meaning to you, where before you went on this trip, it could be nice, it could be neat, but you really never saw it.
Drove past that building every day for 20 years and I didn't notice it. Now it's like, wow. When did they build that building?
Yeah, and so now, and then the question around that, was that building there before you went on the trip?
For the last 25 years.
25 years. We never thought, because it didn't have any meaning for you, your family, your business. There was no connection on any level. But because now your reticular cells has this information, now those things are being picked up. Now the key and the neat thing here is we can do the exact same thing for our business. Mm-hmm. Because literally we're walking by the gold on the ground. We're just not seeing it as gold.
Right.
And so the creation of the get statements really has been a major impact in my business, and something that I've been training people around now for the last 17, 18 years.
Can I tell you a little story?
Absolutely.
We talked about a month ago, right?
Yep.
Right before I left on my trip, and I said, my book's like 3 years old. It's kind of stalled out. Business is kind of stagnated. Something's got to change. And you invited me to speak at your event. I'm thinking, I get to speak at Gary's event. And I was excited. So since then, I went to Europe for 2 weeks. I didn't work. I didn't take my laptop at all. I've got 3 more speaking engagements. And my agent called, and I'm going to write the 3rd edition of my LinkedIn book.
Amazing. And people think it's magical or it's just coincidence. It really isn't.
No, it's not.
It's showing up. And what the get statements actually do, it allows us to determine what is really important to us. What is it that we really want, instead of just saying, I want more money, or I want more business, or I want more time off, whatever it is. We don't have the ability, our brains don't, when we say we want more, it doesn't know how to measure that.
Right.
And so a get statement is a statement that allows you to put a date of accomplishment. By the way, it's not a deadline. It's a date of accomplishment, because we don't like anything the word dead in it. We were just talking about that before the call today. And as you get older, you have this aversion. But literally, it came out of the Civil War that they put their guns in the sand and drew a line and said to the prisoners of war, you stay on that side, you live, you cross the line, you're dead. So the word came out of an actual life and death situation. So again, we don't like the word, but there's even the meaning root design, or where the word was created, we don't like. And so would you like me to give you an example of a get statement?
I was just going to ask you, yeah.
Okay. So the one I use is the universal that we have for all of us, and that's whether you're a W-2 employee, a 1099, an entrepreneur, a CEO, a business owner, it doesn't matter. It's about the revenue that we want to create in our lives in a 12-month period. Now, it's really interesting. Get statements you want to have in that 12 to 18 months, parameter. The reason being, you get beyond that 18 months, I'll get to it later. I've got time. I'll catch up. And there's no urgency. So the one that I use as a universal illustration is the one around money. And it looks like this. I receive $100,000 with $80,000 net revenue by December 15th, whatever the year is. And so the critical elements of that statement is, number one, I receive. I did not say I work harder. People ask me, well, to double my income, do I have to double my efforts and double? No. It's really about being more focused in how you invest your time. And so I receive. And then the next critical element of the statement are the 2 numbers. And whether or not you are a wage earner or a 1099, a self-employed individual, you're still going to have 2 numbers. You have your gross and your net.
Right.
Now, Ted, I know you've dealt with people that only have 1 number. Which of those 2 numbers do you think they focus on?
The gross.
The big one. That's the exciting one.
Right.
But let's say they get to the $100,000 and they go, fantastic. Oops, I don't get to spend $100,000 on me. I get to pay taxes, cost of business, Social Security, whatever the things that come out of your paycheck or out of your business before you have your net spendable.
Yeah. So
you will look at the process and say, it really doesn't work. Well, it does. You just didn't have the 2 numbers. Mm-hmm. And so then it's the word buy. Most people will create a goal or a affirmation with the word on. That means it has to happen on that date or we, quote, fail. When we use the word by, what can happen?
If that's that mindset, it's going to happen by a certain time frame.
Yeah, and it can also happen earlier. So if it's going to happen by, most of the time, I mean, when you were looking at the book and the other speaking engagements, we were talking about how, oh golly, I'm looking at my calendar or whatever. All of a sudden, boom, it happened earlier because you had no idea that you were going to be able to take time off and actually produce.
Right.
It really is kind of an interesting thing. Maybe we need to take more time off.
Leave my laptop at home more often.
There you go. And so it's the body gives us permission to do it earlier. And then the date of accomplishment that I use on a number is December 15th, 2000 and whatever, or if the people are out beyond 2000 and they're watching this, fantastic. You and I are no longer here. But the reason I have December 15th as an actual date is that how many of us want to work through the holidays? And there was a lot of years that I worked through the holidays because I put my end date of accomplishment on December 31st. Mm-hmm. So I don't want to work. I want to rejuvenate. I want to enjoy the family. I want to be able to participate in whatever the activities are and get ready for the new year.
Right.
And so why not plan that your date of accomplishment is going to be on the 15th of December? And so that is a get statement that has really, it's a universal. So you plug in your own numbers, you plug in the things that are important to you, but now your mind has that which it's going to create. Now, we haven't talked about how, that's in another section, but the reality is, okay, now we can, that's the result. And here's something about business. I was speaking at an event early this morning, and I talked about this. I said, you know, the mistake that most people make is they focus on the result, not on the activity. And so by doing this, we can place the result into our subconscious and now really focus on the activity that's going to create that.
Yeah.
Everything that comes into us as an opportunity can go, and this is a question that I offer people. Does this opportunity take me towards or away from my ultimate vision? And by asking that question then, and we have the get statement that is what is really backing up to, now we can make not a good, bad, right, or wrong decision, but does it fit decision?
Right. See, that shifted my whole mindset when I was at your event, and I learned this because I used to write the affirmations that I earn $100,000 by December 31st, and I put all these tasks that I would do, very specific tasks. I would be, consulting or LinkedIn consulting or online ads. So I was like, I put myself in a box. And when I said receive, it was like, oh man, I'd rather receive money than earn it.
Well, and then the old process really puts our resistance into the equation. And we wonder why we've got our foot on the gas and we're not going very quickly, but it's only because we have our foot on the brake at the same time.
Yeah. And when I just said I receive, money was coming from places I didn't know it could come from. And I wasn't trading hours for dollars.
Well, and that's it. And for most of us, sometimes if it's a W-2, but even a W-2 employee, if you change the mindset, is that I'm not exchanging hours, I'm exchanging value.
Yeah.
And when we're exchanging value on any level, you're going to be receiving more because that value will be perceived and other opportunities will show up. Right. But you're right. I mean, you can find a bag of money on the street. I mean, I have found $20 bills in front of a bank. I thought it was one of those fake things, and I open it up and I go, hey, this is real. I go into the bank and I go, has anybody lost a $20 bill? And I go, no, but you can leave it here. If anybody, I go, no, you know who I am. If anybody comes in for it, let me know and I'll bring it in. But it's you can have an inheritance. You could have, and when we look at business, a lot of times we'll have usually 1, 2, or 3 larger transactions or, encounters during the year. And if we look at it as normal, not as accidental, because I used to look at it and go, oh golly, if those things hadn't happened, boy, I'd be in the soup. Well, those things happen every year, so it's now normal. I just don't know when, and I can stay engaged and focused with the opportunities instead of worrying about not receiving the result.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing how it works. Like you say, it's kind of like voodoo in a way.
Well, yeah, it's, and I used this phrase with you before the call again, and it was, I don't have to understand it, I just have to accept it. And it is one of those things that, well, and for years, people have been asking me to write the book about it. And Tanya Waring, who you know, she finally got me to write it, and it came out at my last boot camp in January.
Mm-hmm.
And I am always so surprised, because I think this is the kind of thing that's like breathing, you know, everybody knows how to do it. And people are just going, wow, and seasoned individuals and brand new people, they're coming at this like, where has this been all my life? And I'm going, right in front of you.
Yeah.
And that's an encouragement too for everyone watching, is that things you find easy or ordinary, other people think is extraordinary.
Yeah.
And when you find it easy, it's really about, that's where your value lies. And the people that don't have that same talent or, you know, structure for themselves, you're that missing link. And so, you know, I'm learning, it's my 9th book out, and I'm not a writer. I hate writing. And doing this, being on stage this morning, that kind of stuff, that's fun for me.
Yeah.
Well, the technical, tactical stuff is like, no. But again, I focus on the activity, not the result.
Yeah. I didn't even focus on the activity, and all this stuff is coming to me. So now it's like,
yeah. Yep. And, you know, it's also trusting the seeds that you've planted.
right.
Because literally, it's not magic. You have made those relationships. The reason that we're here, you know, one of the fondest memories I have of doing stuff with you was at an event in Los Angeles, and you said, hey, there's hors d'oeuvres and things up in the concierge level. Let's go. You know, and so we're up there, you know, doing the concierge stuff. And, you know, it's those things. It's building the relationships, the building that has nothing to do with actual dollar transactions. It's about the stories.
Right.
And the dollars come. I mean, there's been ebb and flow between the two of us, but that hasn't been the focus. That has been the natural consequence.
Yeah. I think that's a good point. It's not like you turn on the fire hose and it's always on, or you can just turn it on and off when you want. It comes, and you have to be open to accepting it or receiving it.
Well, and I've had different people, they go, well, I didn't want it that way. I'm sorry. It's just like, that's not part of the equation.
You know? Here's $1 million. Oh, I didn't want it that way.
You know, it's like, my dad, you know, he was raised in the Midwest in Michigan on a farm. And he always taught this one saying that probably a lot of people have heard: make hay while the sun shines. Mm-hmm. And the whole idea is, when you cut hay, if it rains, it will mildew. You got to turn it and dry it, or it's going to be worthless. And so while the sun is out, you're going from early morning before the sun's up till after the sun goes down. You're working by moonlight. You're doing whatever you can to get this crop in. And we can't time when the crop's coming in for us. And that's also when I remember back in my early days that I had in real estate, where I had a manager that said, you know, when things are not going real well or getting a little slow, maybe that's the universe saying, take some time off.
Yeah.
Actually, that's what you did. And now you're ready to go. If you had pushed through, and now you wouldn't have the same energy to meet the, you know, the connections and being on stage and writing the 3rd edition to the book. You know, all of that stuff takes energy that we don't realize. And if we keep pushing through, we're not sharpening the saw.
Right. I just cleared my mind. I said, I'm going away. We haven't done this in, 32 years. We went on a 2-week vacation for our honeymoon. And that's the first time we've done 2 straight weeks since.
And that's what's cool about it. Plus, the people that you're touching their lives, you're giving them permission to do the same thing.
Right.
And so guest statements it's not magical, but they produce results without us having to manipulate the results. Because, you know, and it's not a plan to see, it's not what I call a Santa Claus equation. Whatever you put down is going to happen.
Right.
Or happen even in your time frame. Sometimes I get the question that, well, what happens if it doesn't fulfill the result on that date of accomplishment?
Right.
I go, well, did you create the date of accomplishment? Yes. I say, can you create another date of accomplishment? Yes. Okay, then do it. Because I know for a fact, if a business has 3 elements, they will be successful. I just don't know what I call the gestation period, the time of planting the seed to a harvest. And that's be seen, be safe, be relevant. And this is all about the relationship. Once we have the get savings in place, now we can focus on this and allow that natural connection, that natural timing, if you will, for those that are being touched by our message, our product, our service. So they see us as their perfect solution, and then it's drawing. And so the get statements and the actual result actually then combine, and it becomes a really neat celebration.
So what if you have a big goal? So you've never made $100,000 in your life. You set a get statement. I receive $100,000, $150,000 gross, $100,000 net by December 15th.
You know, a great question, Ted, because I get this a lot. And I'll look at people's get statements, because when they engage in this, I encourage them to send me their get statement and let me adjust them and send them back with suggestions. Is I'll have somebody, they'll go, you know, I've never made more than $50,000 a year, and now I'm going to make $250,000. I go, okay. The illustration I use is a rubber band. A rubber band, if it's not stretched, is not being utilized to the capacity and design for what it was destined for. Mm-hmm. A rubber band stretched too far breaks. Also, is not fulfilling its destiny. When we go beyond the mental envisioning of what it is, we will actually stop ourselves. Mm-hmm. So what people will do is, say it's $150,000 and they've never made more than 50, and they start breaking it down into the monthly components to know if they're on track. And they get so far behind so early that they go, well, I got to be, you know, win the lottery. So they're buying lotto tickets, not doing it. It's a self-defeating. So my suggestion when it comes to money is somewhere between 15 and 20% above your average that you've made over the last 3 years. You can visualize, and it's a stretch. We want to stretch. Now, see, what's fun about this is a lot of times they'll go that 15, 20%, and 3 months into the year, they made it. Well, what can you do? Reset the numbers. Now you do another 15, 20%, another 15. So virtually you're breaking it down into bite-sized pieces, mm-hmm. so that you can assimilate the new habits. And one of the things that I have watched over the years is the lottery winners, because the average income for a lottery winner is just under $40,000. Mm-hmm. They manifest, they receive millions. 5 to 7 years, 99% of them are broke. So they're worse off than they were before they won the money.
Yeah. And
so what happened? It took them right back. They had no ability to adjust to the revenue that's coming in. And so now if it does like that, that's great. There's ways to adjust to that. But when we do it to ourselves manually, we're really putting that little stone in front of the drive wheel and we get stuck.
Right.
Well, why should I? It's not going to happen anyway. See, it doesn't work for me. It works for them. It works for Gary. It works for Ted, but it doesn't work for me.
That's because they're lucky and I'm not.
That's right. It's like, oh golly, the actor, he was in Independence Day. Will Smith.
Oh, yeah.
Will Smith just came out with a YouTube video in the last couple of days, and he says, people come up to me all the time and says to him that they want to be an actor just like him and is as successful just like him. And he said, the hard truth is they're not willing to do what it takes to have a successful career just like me.
Right.
And one of the things that, as simple as get statements are, most people will not do them. Mm-hmm. Because they discounted from the front. They discounted that it's not going to work. It's too simple. It's too stupid. And so they're not going to get the benefit of that tool.
Yeah.
And that, to me, is the sad part. But when I saw that video from Will Smith, I went, well, number one, I'm really impressed that he is as wise as he is. You know, because you see him in different roles, and Prince of Bel-Air, you know, he's goofy and whatever.
Yeah.
But that man has created and carved out a niche in Hollywood that is extraordinary. And you know it's not by accident that he has really put in the effort and specifically in his mind focused on the activity to get to the end result.
Yeah.
The end result.
You see that with pro athletes too. The elite athletes are out there putting in the extra hours.
Yep. You know?
They've got a great natural ability, but the ones that really, really excel, they put in hundreds of thousands of hours.
The boy, I'm missing his name again, the basketball player for Chicago.
Michael Jordan.
Michael Jordan. The story about him is he would show up at the arena in the facility hours beforehand and take a basketball and bounce it on every piece of court. He wanted to see where the flat spots were. He wanted to see where the active spots were on that particular court.
Yeah.
And people say, well, I just want to be like Michael Jordan. Well, really? Are you sure? You know, it's in baseball, the second baseman that I think it was Pujols that took 500 ground balls every day. Every day, 500 ground balls. And they go, he's such a natural. No, he isn't. That is muscle memory, and that's what we're doing here. None of us, there are those exceptions, those savants, those people that just come out of the womb and they are so brilliant, so whatever. Most of us don't have that, but we can be.
Yeah.
If we just focus. And one of the things I write in one of my books is pay the price today for a priceless tomorrow. And tomorrow can come very quick.
Yeah. Yeah. So when I achieve my get statement, do I celebrate?
Absolutely.
Okay.
You know, and here's the secret there is don't wait to have to go to Europe for 2 weeks to celebrate. Celebrate the small wins as well as, you know, the things that if you had somebody that you want to be on their stage and they return your phone call, is that a win? Absolutely.
Right.
What is it that you enjoy doing? Taking a walk, reading a book, going to a movie, getting an ice cream. I don't care what it is for you.
Yep.
Acknowledge the success. Because any larger success is built on the smaller successes. It's not just the one big one that makes you.
Right.
You know, it's the old stories of the movie stars that are discovered in the drugstore. Right. Marilyn Monroe and all that kind of stuff. But, you know, they did things to put themselves in a position to be seen.
Yep.
It just didn't happen overnight. There is something I've been watching, kind of old school bloopers. And what's funny is David Letterman and Joan Rivers and Christy Allen, all before anybody knew who they were, are on these game shows as contestants.
Yeah.
You know, and everybody thinks, well, they just walked in and they were, nobody knew who David Letterman. He was a stand-up comic that, you know, he was struggling like everybody else.
Yeah.
But he stayed in the game. And that's the other thing that get statements allows you to do, is allows you to stay in the game. You know, the old adage is you got to be on the pier when your ship comes in.
Yep.
Predicated, you got to send the ship out. But so many times we quit right before success happens.
Right.
And get statements allows us to say, well, it's not here yet. That's okay. This is why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Right.
If that's big enough, it will allow us to go through the discomfort of where we are to get to where we truly want to be. And everyone deserves it.
So people say, you know, who was it? Somebody we saw at James Malinchuk's event, they spoke. They say, how many times have you gone 99 yards and you're 1 yard from the touchdown and you quit and started over and went back 99 more yards?
Yes. Well, and using that illustration, what if you went 99 yards and there was no yard markers on the field?
Right.
And you had no idea where you were, but you were right there. In Colorado, there's story after story after story of the miners that were gold mining. They would do a claim and they would mine and mine and mine and mine, give up, sell it to the next guy. The guy, in fact, this is a true story. They moved the rock the guy was using for his pillow, and that was the vein of gold. He was literally sleeping on the vein of gold. And So if we don't have the mile markers, which are the get statements,
Yeah.
or the yard markers, how do we know where we are in the journey?
Right.
And we don't know when to celebrate because we just get tired and it becomes Groundhog's Day.
Right.
You know, day after day after day, and pretty soon, I use the illustration a lot of the original Indiana Jones movie of that rock coming down, to where you just say, well, you know, it's going to get me. I might as well just stop. It'll be over in a second.
Yeah.
And that, to me, is very, very sad, particularly for those of us that have had the privilege of living in this day and age, living in this country, living with the privileges and opportunities that we have.
Yeah.
And, you know, yesterday I was on another program. They asked me, they go, you know, what is one of the things that you give people at your boot camp or when you speak? I go, this is going to sound really weird and maybe a little egotistical. I give them permission. And it's weird. I go, they don't need my permission, but they want the permission. Yeah. Because our society has been trained to wait till somebody says it's okay. Mm-hmm. And once they have truly permission to step into their greatness, to step in their value, to step into the results that they desire for them and their families, it seems magical. It really isn't. It's a natural consequence.
Well, Gary, this has been amazing. I love speaking with you like this.
It's always fun.
Yeah.
I love your stories too. I hadn't thought about the football, you know, illustration for a long time.
Yep. It wasn't Joe Theismann who'd be the obvious one to tell that story. It was somebody else.
Yeah, I don't remember who it was, but I do remember it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. Our memories just aren't what they used to be.
Hey, well, here's the other side is we remember stories, we forget facts.
True.
The name is a fact.
Yep.
It's not relevant. That's why when people look for me, they go, I don't, it's that guy, the Beaver guy, the no try guy, the breakthrough guy, you know, and that's why I have all those URLs, because that's how they'll search for me, because of the story,
right?
Not because of my name.
Yeah, that's a great tip right there. So you have a boot camp coming up.
I do. July 20, 21, and 22 here in Denver, Colorado. It's my 34th event. And one of the things I'm really excited for is you're coming back and speaking at the event, Ted.
Yes.
Everybody loves you. And we have had you train some of our coaches as we've gone through different trainings as well. But the event is really unique, is that the day one is really designed for the psychological and emotional aspects of building any business. And I truly believe that's 80% of success. And most people will go to programs looking for the technique, the strategy, the tools. But what gets in trouble is when something happens externally. Right in the middle of my financial planning career, I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis and was told I'd be dead or in a wheelchair in 10 years. Well, that emotional stimulus could have stopped me dead in my tracks, no pun intended.
Right.
I didn't think I was going to say that way. But it didn't, because I focused beyond that. I focused on, now I'm in bonus time. And it actually was one of my biggest blessings. It could have been one of my biggest detriments, because my first book is about that, and it's taken me around the world. And so the idea here is, what do we do when we get external news in the economy, when we get external news in our families, for ourselves? How do we move through that? And then on Friday night, I don't think we did this when you were here. We do a board break. Did we do a board break when you were here? Yeah. So we've got a 7th degree black belt. He is a Taekwondo international champion that takes everyone through a board break experience. It's a phenomenal. We have photographers there to capture everyone's experience, and we give that as a gift to everyone so that they can have it for posterity.
I've seen the pictures online. Looks amazing.
I tell you, it's amazing. That the youngest person was an 18-year-old young lady, and then we had an 80-year-old woman that also broke the board.
Wow.
And so Chris has that ability of really working with everyone, and it's about the experience, not being strong, not being whatever. And it really is a phenomenal day. Day 2 and 3 is all about the structure, techniques, strategies that I have built that are unique to me, because I teach what I have done, not what I think will work. And I think that's one of the differences within this program is that it's very content driven.
Yeah.
I want people to really walk away with a scalable roadmap blueprint that they, when they go back to their businesses on Monday, they're able to implement at least one thing, and we do that at the end of day 3, that they're going to actually achieve a benefit for the investment of time, money, and energy of being at the event.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the biggest challenges is that we keep the investment low for people to come. And right now, the early bird special is $197 for all 3 days for 1 ticket, or $247 for 2 tickets.
Wow.
And that's all of the materials, all of the stuff, all of the, I mean, they walk away with a bunch of stuff. Our action guide now is 100 pages.
Wow.
And actually, with some of the extras we put in, it's about 160 pages. But, you know, I look at content side, it's 100 pages. And so we really go through a lot of material, but the time goes by so quickly because we use audio visual, we use interaction within the room. It's not just lecture. And so the people walk away with, you know, so much more than they ever thought they would, and they enjoy it. And that's the big, my personality, if I'm not having fun, it's not going to work either. And so we have Tanja wearing, that's what Siri makes me say when I do it on the phone. I did that on stage one time. I introduced her as Tanja. Tanja Waring is teaching the art and science of manifesting. And what we have done is combine the get statements in with the process of manifesting, and it's like putting the two concepts together on steroids. So it's really a phenomenal experience with that. We do what we now call a speak-off on Sunday. We bring people that have volunteered in the audience. We have them on stage, and they do 2.5 minutes of their talk, their beginning, their ending, their whatever they want to do. We give them critique from the floor from the professional speakers in the room. They go back through again in about a half an hour. The transformation is unbelievable.
Wow.
And it gives everybody, and people in the audience have told me they get as much out of watching somebody go through that process as if they were on stage themselves.
Yeah.
So it really is a neat thing to see. So time management, my proprietary system around how to get more out of the hours that we have, and it goes back to focus, and it's also then connected to get statements. How to read people, how to learn the language of somebody within the first 7 to 30 seconds and know how to speak to. So you were in Europe. Yeah. You had to speak their language. It wasn't their obligation to speak yours, unless they wanted your credit card. But, you know, but the thing is that, you know, we know that we have 3 to 7 seconds of a connection with an individual, whether or not they deem us as safe. And so how do we position ourselves? And we give you a whole process around that.
Right.
Well, anyway, it is so full. BreakthroughBusinessMastery.com is the landing page. They can go there. Where the early bird special is going to be going up. It's going to go to an early bird special in about 7 days. I think we have it scheduled for.
Okay.
So it's still available. Go grab it. They also get 2 bonuses. They get anybody that registers early, they get a 30-minute private consultation coaching session with me. And then they also are included in the Zoom group coaching calls. It's a Q&A session twice a month up until the boot camp. And that's where we have people come onto the Zoom and ask me any question they want to about their business, and I answer it live on the call.
Those are incredible bonuses. Wow.
Well, I love the Q&As. You know, to me, it's like flying without a net. You know, you never know what the questions are going to be, but they are so valuable. And even if individuals are not able to be on the live call, they get the recording of the call the next day. And it's done on a Zoom. So
awesome. Well, this has been amazing, Gary. It's great catching up with you.
You as well.
And what was the URL again? Breakthrough?
Yeah, www.breakthroughbusinessmastery.com.
I highly recommend it because I'll be there.
You'll be there. Absolutely. And we're also going to be doing a bonus session on Thursday night that we have never done before. And so we're going to do about a 2-hour bonus session. One of the segments, I believe we're locking it in on how to sell 500,000 books from the publisher that is part of the organization.
Wow.
or
That's
part of
perfect
them.
with my new book coming out.
So it's very practical, very fun, and if you don't make this one, it's not a promise, but a lot of individuals that will engage and actually use the information coming out of the boot camp will double their production in 12 months or less.
Oh, easily.
It's little tweaks. It's not the big changes that are going to make the difference. But if you wait, it's going to be the end of January before the next one comes around, because I only do it twice a year.
Right. Well, awesome, Gary. Thank you so much for your time.
Well, you're very welcome. I appreciate you. I appreciate our friendship more than anything. And look forward to seeing you in July.
Okay. Thank you. For more free training, visit socialsellingminute.com.